Welcome to the Hook and Reel Kayak Fishing Show, brought to you by Classic City Kayak Anglers and Coyote Outfitters in Watkinsville, Georgia, with your hosts, Freddie Garza and David Smith.
Welcome back to the Hook and Reel Kayak Fishing Show, your home for all things kayak fishing in the state of Georgia. Today we're going to update you guys on all the new information for the 2021 series that we have available, and also we're going to interview Mr. Alan Starling, the 2020 Angler of the Year from Real Crazy. So, Freddie, go ahead and update us on what information we have coming into 2021.
Sure. First, I wanted to start off giving a shout out to the guys that participated in the Dugouts Tri-State tournament for the month of October. One that we're particularly proud of is Mr. Gage Coley coming in second place with 106 3/4 inch. Had a heck of a month. I know he did well out there in Sinclair when we were there with Bass Nation. So congratulations to Gage, and congratulations to all the top 10. For the first month. It seems like everybody was out there really participating and enjoying a great tournament. It was good to see the prize packs that were coming out, and have the anglers post up all the packages that were getting sent to their homes. So for $25, I don't think you can beat it. Some of those prize packs look pretty substantial, and I mean, great job from the dugout coming out, and making that happen. So we're into the next month of November. I know the guys started fishing. I believe it was this past Sunday was the start for them for November. So we're excited to see what November is going to bring as far as totals, seeing if we can near or match the totals for October. So that'll be interesting to watch. But moving into Georgia, we've had a few schedule drops. I know Peach State, John Hummel and his guys there at Peach State, they dropped their schedule. Unfortunately, I don't have that in front of me, but I know that is available for everyone to view there on Peach State's Facebook page. So head on over and take a look at what they've got. From what I looked over, it looks like a very exciting schedule. A lot of unique places. John Hummel, in putting together his schedules, obviously does the best he can in making sure that you're hitting some good spots at some good times of the year, and it definitely reflects that with the schedule that he's got put out. Georgia Kayak Fishing League has also dropped their schedule. Again, head over to that Facebook page. That schedule has been there for a little bit. It's another great schedule. I think another great opportunity. I think the thing that's going to be interesting or nice this year, in my opinion, is just going to be how everybody is kind of coming together and lessening the amount of tournaments throughout the month, which it's not a negative in my opinion. I think it's going to allow for people to kind of participate in both, because there's a lot of anglers out there I think would like to go and fish some of the things that Peach State's are doing, and again from some of the things that Georgia Kayak Fishing League are doing, and to only have a few or a handful of events to choose from, I think that makes it easier on the angler to try to put together their schedule for the year. Georgia Bass Nation, and I know I've put it out there to a few people, and I do apologize that schedule is not out yet. I assure you I'm not hem-hawing. I'm putting that out. There are some things that I wanted to make sure lined up. That way we're not back and forth and retracting dates or changing dates. I want to be sure to put it on a solid schedule. That way you can plan accordingly, because I know there's quite a few of you anglers out there that will be fishing a lot of these Hobie events and Bass Nation national events. So I want to make sure that we're putting some buffer there to give you the opportunity to fish as you will or as you want, and not be back to back if at all possible. So Bass or Hobie dropped theirs last night, I believe. So there was already right off the bat we had a conflict of a venue there, not specific venue. We weren't going to the same venue, but similar area and similar fishery. So we felt like it was too tight. So we're going to reevaluate that. I'm hoping to have that out here within the next week or two at the latest. Again, I just wanted to kind of run down all these national schedules and make sure there's no conflicts for you guys. So bear with us. It's going to be coming down. Another important note regarding Georgia Bass Nation is that we're now ending the year of 2020 that ended with our state championship. We want to start getting all of our affiliated clubs kind of in the mindset of next year for 2021. So in that, we want to make sure that everybody is aware that the affiliation is any club that's affiliated currently, or if you're looking to be affiliated, we need to try to get your dues paid up for the 2021 season by the end of January. That would help out in ensuring that everybody who wants to fish our first tournament, which will be in March, that'll give us some time to make sure that they're through the system and that everybody is eligible to fish the series, starting from the first one. So again, you can add to your rosters throughout the year. It's just that angler has to be a member before entering one of our tournaments. And next year we're looking at a 3-stop trail, ending with the state championship. And another thing, I'd love to get you guys feedback. We have some opportunity to help Georgia Bass Nation kind of grow financially. So with what I'm saying with that is I want to get everybody's input, and I'd love to get some opinions on your thoughts of having a 2-day state championship. Keep in mind, when we do a 2-day, it makes it a little easier for us to talk to some of these counties and cities as far as them being our host and then them investing in what we're doing. So keep that in mind. I'd love to get your feedback if it's a yes or no or maybe, or what your thoughts would be of hosting a 2-day state championship. And what that would look like would be, rather than a Saturday Sunday, it would be a Friday Saturday. And I believe we've got it slotted for November, I believe. Anyway, it'll be on the schedule. And I apologize, guys. Bear with me as I work through a few different schedules. We've got high school, we've got Georgia Kayak Fishing League, and Georgia Bass Nation. So they kind of get jumbled in my head. Not only that, my age isn't helping me at all either. So with that information will be posted here shortly. Again, September is when we have the state championship slotted. And I can go ahead and say it, that one, most likely, I don't see any change in that, but I will let you guys know that will be on Chattooga in September. So love to have your feedback. Again, if you guys are interested in hosting, or us hosting, a 2-day championship event, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Other than that, the only other thing I'd like to say, we did drop our high school schedule. Georgia High School Kayak Fishing Association dropped that schedule yesterday. So if you know of any high school angler, and this is 7th through 12th, please have them contact Georgia High School Kayak Fishing Association. We'd love to have them fishing with us next season. We've got a lot of interest going into this next season, so we're anticipating some pretty good growth as far as the schools participating for 2021. But we still have some exciting opportunities with still continuing on the spot to send a team to the FLW Student Angler Federation National Championship. So if you know of anybody who's interested, please send them our way. We'll make sure that they get set up. Real crazy. I talked with Aaron Wilson a few weeks ago, so I know that schedule. Keep on the lookout with their Facebook page. That schedule should be dropping here very shortly. So excited to see what's coming out of Real Crazy again for 2021. If there's anything that we've left out, please drop us a comment. We'd love to add them to the show. I know Chattahoochee, I haven't seen as of yet a schedule for next year, but as soon as we do see something from them, I assure you we'll have it here on the show as well. Other than that, that's all I had for updates for Georgia.
Good deal. Well, guys, a lot of exciting things coming up for 2021. So just everybody's dropping their schedule, and just keep an eye out on all the Facebook pages to see what's coming up and how you can set your schedule to fit in everything you want to do. So with that, we're going to now bring you our interview that we did with Mr. Alan Starling. Alan was the 2020 Angler of the Year for Real Crazy. Pretty good interview. Had a good time talking with Alan.
Definitely.
So with that, guys, here's our interview with Mr. Alan Starling.
Guys, welcome back to the Hook and Reel Kayak Fishing Show. We appreciate you guys being here with us tonight. Tonight, our guest is Mr. Alan Starling. Alan is the Angler of the Year this year for 2020 for Real Crazy. And Alan, welcome to the show, buddy. We're glad to have you with us tonight. And if you would, just give us a little bit of background about Alan. Tell us who you are, and so introduce yourself to everyone.
Yes. Name's as you know, as you just said, Alan Starling. I go by the nickname Cornbread. Most people that know me well call me that. It's a nickname I've had since I was a kid. All my fishing guys, all my buddies, they know me as that. I'm a father, a husband. We have 3 children. Me and my wife. In October, here in a couple weeks, we'll be celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary. I run my own heat and air business. That's what I do. I do heating and air, and I like kayak. I love kayak fishing. I've been kayak fishing since about 2014. Got into a little plastic boat back then. A friend of mine, Russ Abernathy, he had a couple Coosas sitting in his garage, and we were putting in a new heat and air system in his home. And I got to looking at them, and I said, are those kayaks? He's like, yeah. And he's telling me about them. And I said, I heard about people fishing out of them, and I've always fished out of boats and everything. And I was just really interested in it. So that year I got me my first kayak, and I guess you could say I never looked back.
Well, good deal. Well, have you always fished with Real Crazy, or have you jumped into other clubs and joined in on some of their tournaments?
So when I got started in 14, I just kind of fished around, and then started looking into it, and found River Bass and Tournament Trail done by Drew Gregory.
Right.
And I fished my first tournament in that. I believe it was that year in 14. Yeah, it was. It was in out of Columbus was where it was hosted. And so I fished that one that time, and then got really into it. It was really interesting, really liked how it went. I didn't do so well, but I was learning and everything about how it all works out. And then the next year there was an event in 2015 out of Cartersville, out of I think it's Cahota, little fly shop up there. They're a Jackson dealer. And so I fished that tournament, and then I fished another river bass in out of Chattanooga that was hosted by the what's that place called? The Rocks something up there. It's another kayak shop. But anyhow, when I was in that tournament, I was below Chickamauga Dam, and there's a little creek that comes in, and I paddled in there and just looking for fish, and I ran into Andy Middleton, and got talking, hey, how's your day going, everything, and found out he was from Georgia, and I was like, okay, cool. I said, I'm from Georgia, and talked about it, and I said, it'd be cool if there was like some kind of tournaments in Georgia that you could fish that are local, because I just was thinking everything was kind of like river bass or something big like that. And he's like, oh no, there's this group I fish with called Real Crazy. And I said, okay. And so I checked it out, and in 2016 was the first year that I fished in our local trails with Real Crazy. I finished in the top, whatever it was, I think top 8 or whatever, to go to state. We fished, oddly enough, you'll like this, Lake Sinclair for our club. Yeah, for there it was a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday, and I placed second place in state that year.
Wow.
And then the following year, Peach State started getting fired up, and I fished Peach State and Real Crazy that same year, done pretty well with it. And then 18, you start doing really good. I think your head starts getting big. You start thinking you're this and that. And in 2018, I got a little humbled. It rained a lot in 18. It rained a lot, and all the river events, all the rivers were just destroyed all summer. It was like we couldn't get a river event in. And then coming in 19, that was my eldest son, his senior year in baseball and everything that spring. And the first tournament was on Rocky. It got canceled because I was worried about the weather. And it's just something, that tournament was canceled. And I said, you know what? I just felt like the Lord was leading me. I need to take this year off, spend it with my family, enjoy my son's senior year, playing baseball that spring and everything, and not get all tied into it. So I took 2019 off to focus on my family, focus on being at our church and working in the church, and then got back into it this year.
Wow. So you took a year off,
Sorry.
come back and win Angler of the Year. That's
yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Can't ask for a better finish than that. Well, good deal.
It was
Well,
definitely a blessing.
yeah, it is. One question I've got for you, it sounds like you've been around since, really the formation of organization anyway, as far as trails go for Georgia. How have you seen, what are your, what are the highlights of what you've seen in the last 4 years, as far as the growth that you've seen here in Georgia? I mean, do you see it as a positive? Do you see things that, we can do better? As, I always ask this question, kind of coming back with my background as a tournament director, just to kind of get a feel for what other people, see outside of, for me, it's Classic City and everything I'm involved in. But
Right.
I'm always curious to know, what would you like to see better? What do you like that's currently going on? If you can kind of give us some feedback on, or your thoughts on any of those topics.
Well, it's pretty incredible what all the guys or all the leaders of the groups put together for in 16. That was a really neat time. It was really an awesome experience. And in 17, same thing. We fished the OC and Lake Juliet, but weather rolled in, and so it turned into a one-day event. You had to pick either the river or the lake, or you could fish both in the same day, which kind of stunk. I liked the 2-day events. It was kind of fun from the year before. But I tell you what, Georgia we're at this point. What I like is seeing the growth that we got. And there's a lot of really good fishermen that are getting in these tiny little plastic boats. And, we are at this point, I say this, we're at the point of greatness for the state. You see what's going on in Texas. They've already had this going on before Georgia has, from what I understand.
Right.
West Virginia is another big state where, and I know this by seeing these guys at like the KBF National Championship stuff. You see these guys roll in as they're like teams from their state.
Right.
And but you hear how they run things in their states, and I think we're getting to that point where if everybody can get everything kind of more organized as a whole, that the state of Georgia could be a top tier kayak fishing championship, a big time thing, bigger than most people have thought. It's grown a lot. I mean, I wasn't there, like I said, until 2014 is when I got my first kayak, and didn't start really competing until 2016. So I guess I'm still kind of a noob compared to a lot of the guys. But there's a lot of greatness that can be had in this state when it comes to kayak fishing and tournaments in general. And with all the people that are getting into it now, and all the new ideas, and people that are, passion for it, more passionate, that want to see it grow. If we can get things more hammered down, more organized, centralized, I guess, to one deal, to where everybody, does that make sense? It does. Overall, we're all the groups, because like we're going to go fishing. So in 16, I represented Real Crazy. I was on the, from that. So it's kind of like you're representing that group. In 17, I ended up representing PSKA that year in it. Right. So it was kind of neat to kind of flop sides. But and then of course this year I'll be representing Real Crazy. So it's kind of like a pride thing for that. If you're going against all these other guys from these other clubs.
Right. Yeah, Alan, from personal experience, I'm from Texas, and that's exactly the way you've described it, is exactly how Texas is set up. And Texas being a prideful state just to begin with, but it's fun to watch the competition in the different clubs. They all go and they represent their area, their region, and there's multiple trails that are very successful there. There's the Cat Series, and then there's also one thing that they do at the end of the year, and a culmination of everybody, called the Texas Throwdown. And to me, that's you're getting the top tier of the state when you have events put together like that. And it's interesting to hear you talk about that, because that's one of the thoughts behind the Georgia Kayak Fishing League. It's not trying to combine everybody to fish as Georgia Kayak Fishing League, the club, because it's not a club, it's a league, and you represent your particular club. Right now we have Classic City, we have Daniel's group, which is going to be called North Georgia Kayak Anglers, and then we have East Central Georgia Kayak Anglers. And it's an opportunity for the guys to go and represent, but our main thing was just to try to eliminate all of the choices that anglers had. We didn't want people to have to fight or determine, schedules, because let's face it, it got pretty crazy there in 2018, and this year was very similar. And we got to thinking, how do we eliminate that? We don't want to step on anybody. We don't want to crush anybody. Everybody. We want everybody to be involved. And how does that work? And the end result was the Georgia Kayak Fishing League. So, you still have all the clubs that represent their areas and service all those anglers in those areas. And it gives them an opportunity to represent, in a organized league, so to speak. And that's what we're hoping to kind of grow. And we'd love for every club in the state of Georgia to participate at some point. I mean, the offer is always there. So, to have Real Crazy participate in any of the tournaments would be great as well. And, and it doesn't, it still allows for each club to host their own tournaments or tournament trail, if they so speak. But, the goal really is to try to create a trail that's going to get the best of the best and keep them in line, keep everything the same, and make it something spectacular at the end of the year. Not to take away from anything that any of the clubs have done, because I look at what Real Crazy did this year. I mean, heck, they were some of their prizes, and now to be teamed up with Jamie Koza, they're definitely taking strides in the great direction, and I'll look forward to seeing their success for sure. So.
Yeah, it was a big deal having the Dugout come on and sponsor our group this year, and definitely thankful for that. Extremely excited to have that Hobie. It's a really nice kayak. I got to take it out a little bit this past Saturday on the rock. I didn't want to start out with it because I'd never been on one on that particular model, and just didn't know the stability or whatever. But it sat on the trailer while I was out in what I call Old Pinky, my pink big rig, and I just kept thinking about it. I said, well, I'll go back and get that and try it out. So I did, and I really enjoyed it. It was a really fast boat. But yeah, now getting back to talking about the organization and all, you had you still got the KBF. They're out there, and I think it seemed like a lot of the groups were trying to take, trying to use their kind of rules and stuff and bring it to something more organized for everybody, for say for our state or something. But like I said, I mean, if we can come together with all the groups and then there's some central, I can talk about the kayak fishing league idea. I think that's something they do up north in like Illinois and all that. There's another group up there, I think, that's something similar to that, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
They do something up there. And if there's something more that the rules that, across the board, everybody does, plays by the same rules, and you come together to bring the best of the best, that can only make the state even better.
Absolutely.
I'd be on board for something like that, definitely, personally.
Sure. Well, good. Yeah, it's interesting to see organizations such as Bass even jumping in, and I'm looking forward to watching that grow for the state, because to me Bass kind of it adds that another level. Not everybody. I think the grassroots is definitely something that is very important to any state. I mean, that's where it all comes from. And to be a tournament director for Classic City, that everybody always asks me, well, what about Classic City? Well, Classic City is always going to be there because grassroots needs to be there, in my opinion. Not everybody wants to go and chase the national dream, and that's fine. I think to be able to have those grassroots is very important. But at the same time, I'm excited for Bass, and I hope that the state grows, and that opportunity presents itself for those who want it. This year at the state championship, to be able to send the top guys to Texas for that opportunity, I'm super excited for it, because moving to Georgia, I mean, the anglers here in Georgia, I tell you what, being from Texas, born and raised, there are some great anglers there, but the waters in Georgia, and honestly just east, they're just different. They're different animals. And if you're doing well there or here, you pretty much can do well anywhere. I can tell you right now, I'll take any Georgia homegrown angler, take them to Texas, and I guarantee you they're going to be successful. It's just different. I'm not trying to downplay Texas at all, but there's less that has to be done to be successful in Texas. Let's put it that way. Still have to put in the work, still have to figure the patterns, but at the same time, I think there's more opportunity there in Texas rather than what we're seeing here in Georgia. And to me, that makes a better angler. You know, you're having to grind it out, you're having to work, figure it out, and you know that can only be a plus when you're traveling on the national level too. So.
Well, I think and here, where I live, I'm on the border. I live in Haralson County. There goes my son creeping by. He's trying to get the shot. They won their football game this evening, their JV game.
Oh, good deal.
But anyhow, yeah. I'm on the border of I'm like 10 minutes from the state of Alabama, and I'm within an hour to 2 hours of just about any fishery I want to go to and fish. And there's different types of fisheries. You got, like the lakes. You can go to Tennessee River lakes. You can go to places like Altoona if you want, or you can go to West Point if you want. Or you can go to Logan Martin, or places like you got the Coosa Chain. And then you got all the moving water around it, and there's so many different types of water that you can fish, and different that different techniques you need to learn to try to fish them, and how the fish relate, and the bait and everything that go with it. It is really diverse in the Southeast, and definitely between the states of Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and down just right into the tip of Florida, bass fishing wise. I think if you can fish all that, you can probably fish anywhere, I'd say.
Well, good deal. Well, there's a question for you. Talking about how long you've been in the kayak community, tell us tell us what advice you would give to somebody. We're constantly getting new anglers, which is great. But what advice would you give a new angler wanting to, kind of get into the scene here in Georgia? What would you tell them to do first? Just kind of your idea of your best advice for somebody wanting to start out.
As far as like tournament fishing, you're asking?
Yes.
Yep. Well, I would say, for me, okay, when I got into the tournament things in 16 and 17, I had some great success, and then that kind of went to my head, like I say, and I worried more about having to win in 18, and when I'm going to win, and it just went from not being fun based. It just turned from not being fun. It wasn't fun. I was more worried about, we got how many guys are in it? How much is the pot going to be? How much more money can I get to buy more fishing stuff? And that's not the best way to do it. The best thing to do is go out there and just fish. Just grind, just enjoy your time. You ain't got to buy all the most expensive toys. Now, as you get into it, you keep going, you will invest, and you will buy nicer rods and reels. But we're in kayaks, so I wouldn't suggest going out with $500 rods with $500 reels. You're going to break them. You're going to break a rod. You're going to break tips and stuff. I'm pretty fortunate not to break them that often, but you're going to do it. Just have fun with it. It does get serious. Guys get competitive. But take your time, getting into it, and in the grassroots, fish a few seasons in the grassroots thing. Get your toes wet and understand how to do it. Listen to some of the guys who've been able to do it a long time. When they're telling you, they're trying to give you advice on how to, even a lot of guys get frustrated with the one thing that could be the hardest thing to do is just taking a picture of the fish.
Right.
And them fish like to flop. And guys try to figure out, do I put a net under it? Do I do this? Do I do that? I remember we had a tournament in, I think, 2017 on Terrapin Creek over in Alabama, and I went, all morning, didn't have fish, and then this rain came through, and I'm in this hole, or in this deep hole area on the creek, and I catch 3 16 to 17s in a row, 3 16 to 17-inch fish in a row, and I put the first one on the board. And it's spotted bass. They're crazy. They're wild. That thing gets to flop and jumps out. I was like, dang, catch another one. Second one does the same thing. The third one does the same thing. I'm like, oh my goodness, I just want to beat these fish in the head just because they went. I was like losing my cool. But I tell you what, I have to hand it to Chad Hoover. Made a good video about that a few years back about just take your time, put the fish in the water, let them get on the fish grips, get your board wet, lean it just right. So, if you look at any of my pictures, about 99% of my pictures, my fish pictures, my hand's not on the fish. They can be small, they can be the biggest ones. It doesn't matter. I just take my time with it. I don't get rushed with it. I just keep cool and calm and collective. Just like when I coach ball, when I tell my players to keep calm, keep cool, collective, don't get too high, don't get too low, and you'll be all right. And that's why this season's been for me. Everything's, take it, one cast at a time, one fish at a time, and just grind. Don't get too excited. And that's what I want, people that, you don't have to have the most expensive boat. You ain't got to go buy a $4,000 Hobie and put a Torpedo on it because everybody else do it, and put a 10-inch fish finder on it. You don't have to.
Right.
Actually, I mean, some of the really good sticks out there, they don't have all that. Those are just toys. But you can either fish or you can't. It's one or the other, and those things ain't gonna make a fisherman.
Right.
But if somebody's new to it, don't buy into everything that everybody's telling you. As far as the other stuff, you got to have this, you got to have that. Just do what you can afford. Don't extend it over. If you have a family, if you're a family man, don't overextend yourself. Don't put your family in a bad way just because of this, because then you and the missus aren't going to get along over that. I know. Right. Trust me, I've been there, done that. So you got to be smart. But like I said, getting back to the other part of the fishing is, don't get too excited. Just take your time. I mean, I went up and fished Lake Chickamauga with Steve Owens and them in the Tennessee Valley Guys tournament back in late spring, and it was a grind. And I was on this creek mouth at the mouth of the river, and the river's flowing one way, the wind's blowing another way, and bass boats are running in behind me 100 miles an hour, and I'm trying to stay on this wall and fish this one spot all day. And it was hard, but I just kept grinding. And of course, it was on Tourney X, during Rona was going on, and I didn't care to look at the leaderboard. That's another thing. If you got that, don't look. I don't like to look at the Tourney X often because, I'm not fishing against those guys in a way. I'm fishing against the fish. I'm trying to catch them. Right. And but I kept grinding, and in the end, I ended up winning that tournament. So I think that's a lot of it. A lot of guys. Well, heck, even going in on our last turn on the Etowah, I didn't fish clean. I was sloppy. I missed some fish that probably would have put me to win in the tournament. Thankfully, it didn't cost me Angler of the Year. But my buddy Robbie Hogland, who got Rookie of the Year in our group, is a guy that goes to church with me. Got him in the kayak fishing the last couple of years, and got him fishing the tournaments with us this year. And he called me, halfway through the morning. He fished a different area, and the water had risen up. There's a lot of current, and he was frustrated. And I said, "Look, man, just slow down." I said, "Just throw this bait or throw that bait. It's probably what's going to work. Take your time and just pick things apart, and it'll be fine." And that's what he did. And he ended up, closing out the deal for Rookie of the Year against a couple of the other rookies who were right there on his tail. Right. So I think that might be the best advice right there. Really is, don't get too. Get excited, be happy, it's fun. Sure. But just take your time. Take your time. Don't be overwhelmed. Right. It's just fishing.
Yep. Good deal. No, that's some great advice. I mean, there's so many people that are entering, into our community and our sport. I say ours, but entering the community and the sport. It's exciting. It's disheartening sometimes to hear, some people that feel a little intimidated about their first one. And, that's something that we definitely here on the show want to talk about, because I've, being, as I mentioned, coming from Texas to Georgia, that's been the one blessing about the entire Georgia community, to have all of the tournament directors kind of reach out to me when I started Classic City, and just, open arms and suggestions and, advice and help. And I was overwhelmed. I felt great about it, and it gave me that confidence to just continue on to start building something. But, that says a lot about the community here in Georgia to me, and it's still that way. And there's a lot of great tournament directors, and, it's interesting. I've had a good opportunity to talk to Real Crazy's new directors for this year, and they're very passionate about what they're doing. So I'm excited for them going into their second year, and they seem excited about the club and the growth of it. So Real Crazy's got some really good things going on, and it's always fun to watch you guys and how y'all progress throughout the season for sure. So, well, David, did you have any questions?
Yeah, it's been a good season.
Go ahead, Alan. Finish what you.
Sorry about
No, I was saying that, yeah, it's been a great season. Sorry.
Something that you said that kind of caught my attention. You just kind of buzzed right over it when you were talking about you won the Hobie obviously as Angler of the Year, which is great. Congratulations on that. But you kind of gave a little pet name or something there for the boat you're fishing out of before that. So what's the story behind that?
Old Pinky. It's my Jackson Big Rig. So my first kayak was a Wilderness Systems Ride 115, and it was lime green. I love that thing. I mean, it was just I tell you what, a lot of you get on it. You find going back to what Freddie was asking earlier about people trying to get into it and all. You always see these posts on the kayak pages. Somebody's like, I want to get into kayak fishing, or I want to get into the thing. What's the best kayak? And of course, everybody out there is going to say, well, this kayak's the best kayak, because maybe they're on a team, that's the kayak they fish, or, this kayak and that kayak. And really, there's not a terrible, there are terrible kayaks. There are some terrible ones that are, that are out there, but they're not the, but it's like Chad Hoover said, whatever you got to do to get on the water, that's all that matters. Get whatever you got to get on the water. But I have to say, when people ask me, and I generally try to look out for guys that are built like me. I'm 6 foot. I'm 280 pounds. I'm a big dude. But they want stability. They want performance sometimes. They want to know that they're going to get on the water, not flip out. Now, I'm pretty nimble. I'm pretty, well, sometimes I am. I got good balance in a kayak. Let's just say that. And but the ride was a phenomenal boat. I could stand in it, fish going down the water, as the water's floating or whatever down the rivers and whatnot. And I would pretty much stand all day in that kayak and fish, and I just enjoyed it. And then I went from that to a Jackson cruise because in that same tournament that I met Andy that day, I went thinking about generation and the dam, and that dam started dropping out, and well, let me just put it this way. If it wasn't for an old couple in a bass boat, I would have been in Alabama. So they had to tow me back to the ramp. And because that boat was not meant to traverse upriver. And then so I went to the Jackson cruise thinking speed, a narrower boat. Well, then you lose stability. I could stand in and fish, but it was not ideal. And so I found that out real quick. And then, so I got rid of it. And then a lady up in Tennessee, Angela Creasman was her name. And she had this pink big rig. It's pink and slate gray. It's a custom color. I think it was a color they called Cowgirl or something they made in their whitewater kayaks. And she had to make it in a big rig. Well, she wanted to get rid of it. I think well, anyhow, she was dating a guy up there. He got a pedal kayak. So when a pedal kayak started taking off in 16, this was 16. So I already fished half the season in this Jackson cruise and got rid of it. And she had this big rig she ain't even had a year, and she wanted to get a pedal kayak. And I was looking at big rigs, but they were all, camo colored. And camo is cool and all, but it's kind of boring on the water. I like to be flashy on the water. And I said, and I'm like, I'm not a guy that wears pink, but that kayak really got my attention. It was on Facebook, and I messaged her. I said, hey, she had this like fancy paddle with it. I said, look, I don't need the paddle, but I want the kayak. Would you take X amount of dollars? She said, sure. So I drove up next day and got the kayak from her. And I've had that kayak for 4 years now, or since 16, and I call it Old Pinky. So it's pink with slate gray, and it's a great little kayak. The seats are actually the seat frames for Jackson kayaks and for now Crescent, the new Crescent kayaks, and forget what was the other brand. The frames are actually made right down the road here. A friend of mine has a company. They do all the frames and stuff for those kayaks. So I took my big rig seat over there and got a little modification, made it a little bit higher compared to a standard big rig seat, so I could even sit up higher than that. But me and Old Pinky, we go a long way the last few years. We've been through a lot. I put that boat through a lot. and a lot of beating it up. You know, sorry, I don't mean to be chasing the squirrel, but I remember when I first bought that wilderness ride, I was scared of every rock I hit in a creek or a river. I was like, oh goodness, I'm gonna gash it and I'm gonna sink it. But those boats are really resilient. And that's why I try to tell people, getting back to that, people ask, what's a good, kayak? And I'm like, wherever you can get on the water where you can afford is one thing. But as you progress and you want to get into the game a little deeper, then yeah, a quality kayak will go a long way. And I've had Wilderness, I've had the Jackson, we've had a few Jacksons in our household here. And I've been on some other ones, and you can rough them up pretty good, and they'll keep on floating. If you look at the bottom of old Pinky, it's not pretty, but she still floats. She still fishes really good. She's won a lot of fish. She's won some fishing tournaments. So,
right. Well, it sounds like you've been around, quite a few different clubs that I'm sure offer, different opportunities when it comes to these tournaments. And what I mean by that, like, the ability to utilize trolling motors, pedal drives, and it sounds like you mainly paddle. And you briefed on it earlier. You talked about you still have to catch the fish. So regardless, do you feel any advantage or disadvantage, being just paddle versus pedal and trolling motors, or do you feel like it's still bottom line at the end of the day? It's still about patterning out and knowing how to fish.
Well, definitely it's that, but I these things always these things. Oh, hold on a second. Did I lose you?
Yep,
are you there?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, my phone just blipped. Sorry. So that's always the thing where guys are like, so you had guys that get mad about trolling motors, right? But they'll have a pedal kayak. You know what I'm saying? And here I am. I'm paddling a kayak, and in a tournament, I may paddle 6 miles. And these guys are like, they fuss about motors. I'm like, you got a pedal kayak, so you're almost hands free. You can propel yourself and fish at the same time. Whereas, a person who's paddling, it's really difficult to fish and paddle at the same time. Personally, for me, I don't care, if you have a motor, if you have a pedal, or you paddle. A lot of times the guys that paddle will beat the guys that pedal or motor. And when they get in that fuss on the Facebook groups and stuff, I'm like, well, I don't remember the Inuits having 14-inch fish finders on their kayak. You know what I'm saying? So, like, where do we draw the line of what's the purity of the sport, if you will?
Sure.
I look at it in a way, it's a cost-effective way to scratch a itch of competition. Being a former, football player and all, I love competition. And being that I'll turn 40 in November, I can't play football anymore. I gave that up years ago. Your body ain't meant to do that. But, I love fishing. So I always wanted to fish bass tournaments. Never really did that growing up. Never did it as a young adult. And so when I got into the kayak, that was something I can scratch. And, it doesn't matter to me if somebody has a motor. I mean, I've went to the national championship twice, the KBF national championship. I rigged up a trolling motor go on Pinky, on the back, made the cables for my foot pegs where I can make it steer it with my feet. And I think it was a bad decision because all I wanted to do was, that's the one thing about me being in a kayak, I like to explore. So I will kind of keep going and going and going, and I won't stop. And I remember the first day of the first national championship on Kentucky Lake, I think I trolled my trolling motor. I went out about 4.5 miles, and then the battery died. And then I had to make it back. And the wind was blowing 15 miles an hour or better, and I had to paddle all the way back. And I got around the rip wrap wall, and it was about another 200 or 300 yards to that marina, and I'm trying to paddle against the wind. I just couldn't do it. I got out of my kayak, and I walked in the shallow water on the riprap all the way back to the marina. Oh, wow. And so I think sometimes, yeah, I learned the hard way. But no, I mean, wish. I mean, I understand. Like in our local groups, they want to keep it pad or man powered.
Right.
To a point, and I'm fine with that. Locally, I am. I do appreciate the big trails like KBF or the Bass Nation allowing motors. I think
Right.
that's kind of nice. Now, fishing Logan Martin this year for the first Bass Nation event, I did think it was kind of ridiculous that you had a Hobie PA-14 with the pedals and then they'd have a Torpedo on the back. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
like, that's a little much. So like, but I know a lot. I mean, me and a buddy of mine was talking. A lot of these guys, they can have $10,000 in a rig and they can't catch fish.
Right.
No, I don't want to be all that way, but you know what I'm saying. It's
I did.
I'm fine with motors. I'm fine with pedal. I'm fine with paddle. I don't have a problem with either or. Like I said, it's not me against the guy in the other kayak. It's me against the fish.
Right.
And once you get that mindset, it's you against the fish. That other stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what these other guys do. I mean, up in Northwest Georgia, in our area, we got some sticks. I mean, we got some freaking hammers.
Yep.
I mean, you got Clint Henderson, you got Jason Alford. I mean, you got Andy Middleton, Jim Ware. I mean, you got Kel Henderson now, Clint's son.
Oh yeah.
I mean, my goodness, that kid shows up. You're about to lose your lunch money. I mean, so we got some really good sticks in West Georgia and Northwest Georgia. I mean, down to at Chattahoochee Kayak Anglers, man, they got a mess of guys.
They do.
And then now you got that kid, is it Gage Cooley?
Gage.
Is that how you
Gage
say it?
Cooley. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Out of Pike County. I mean, and he's just a kid. And this is his first or second year.
Yeah.
I mean, so you can either fish or you can't. And, but, I think like I said, it doesn't matter what you do. It's just the fisherman's what matters, not your toys and not the things that get you there. You got to know how to fish. You got to know how to read it, know when to change, know when to adapt. Sometimes that's hard for me. Sometimes I want to stick with something to keep grinding when I need to change because conditions can change. And that's something that you only learn that with on the time on the water.
Right.
So.
I agree.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I can't wait to put a Humminbird with 360 imaging on my kayak one day. That'd be great. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
I mean, guys are putting live scope. I mean, they were. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get off on this. Was it Randy Blockett was talking about guys having 3 different types of fish finders on their glitter rockets, with live scope and 360 and all, and how crazy that is. I mean, it's going to get to the point you're going to see guys doing that possibly in a kayak running 2 different brands of fish finders just because of live scope or 360 or something of that nature.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Andy was talking about that article too, and he brought up a good point. It's much like you said. At the end of the day, you're still, fish finders or not, you can find them, you can see them down there, but it's going to take that right lure and that right choice of what it takes to bring them up to the surface. So, at the end of the day, you still got to be a fisherman, regardless of electronics or paddle, doesn't matter. So you've got to get the basics down and understand that first and foremost. I like what you're saying, definitely, as far as somebody being new and just giving themselves the opportunity. It's not about the flash or what what you can afford above your means. Just, get what you can afford and be happy doing it. Cause I think there's plenty of people out there that have started off in, very inexpensive kayaks, but at the end of the day, if it floats and gets you down to where you need to go to catch the fish and be successful, and that's all it takes. So.
Hey, let me add to that if you don't mind.
Sure.
So the first King of the Rock was in what was that? 16, 17? I don't know. First King of the Rock was in November, and I won that, by the way. I won on a drop shot, followed by a Ben Parker big like 8-inch spoon. So I'd fire them up with a drop shot, and they'd come running, and I'd throw that spoon down there, and it felt like they were just fighting over it. And I caught 12 fish that day. Everybody else was having a hard time. I had like 12. It was a 3-fish limit and won that thing. But
oh, wow.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, sorry. That was something I did want to cover. You want to talk about somebody new into the thing? This is a mistake I made. Don't buy every bait and every piece of tackle out there. You don't need everything that Tackle Warehouse sells. You're going to use 1% of it in a tournament. I'm notorious. I'll take anywhere from probably about 7, 8 to 10 rods on my kayak, even in a river tournament. I'll take anywhere around that, 6 to 7 rods just because. And then I'll have 2 bags of plastics, and then my crate is full of 6 boxes. And then, so I take a lot of stuff with me. I try to be specific, but sometimes it just comes down to something as simple. And this is, I guess, giving the juice to somebody new. You cannot go wrong with a Zoom Black 6-inch trick worm. I don't care where you're fishing, what you're fishing for. That worm right there, if you're new to this, that worm is a good place to start. Texas rig, shaky head, you can't beat it either way. And or wacky rig with a Senko or any stick bait that you prefer, you can't beat that as well. That's something that'll help you catch a lot of fish if you're new into it. And another thing, don't buy into all these guys saying, about throwing a spinning rod. That's a sissy stick and that it's not manly. That's a bunch of horse mess. I've won tournaments on sissy sticks. I got more bait casters than I do spinning rods. But in the end of the day, it doesn't matter what kind of stick you catch it with. If you're going to catch fish, you got to use what you got to use. I mean, I won that tournament up there in Tennessee earlier this year on Chickamauga. Went on a sissy stick with a Ned rig. I mean, something like that. I mean, so it's don't let nobody try to talk you down because you're using a spinning rod. Right. Use what you can use to catch fish. Right. If you got guys who talk, make fun of guys using spinning rods, just I think they're just trying to compensate for something in their own self.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I do get a kick out of it. It's funny you mentioned the Ned rig. You'll see it all the time on social media. Everybody, poking fun at people fishing the Ned rig. But I'm one of those people, and for that reason, because I know it'll catch fish. If I'm struggling, that is one of my go-tos. I'll throw the Ned rig, and 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be successful doing it. And, what people say about it, I could care less as long as I'm holding up a fish at the end of the day. So.
That's right. I mean, it doesn't, and it's no respecter of fish. I mean, it catches a bunch of little ones, but it catches. Well, let's say I had I caught several average like 15, 16-inch fish. I said I had a hat trick for that tournament. It was a 3-fish tournament. And I had a spot. My spot was the smallest of the 3. I think it was 16 something. I can't remember. And I had my personal best smallmouth. We don't get any smallmouth down here, so any chance I can go and try to catch one is what I want to do. And I had I think my smallmouth was 19 and a half or 20. You think I would remember since it's a personal best? I had to look it up. I'm not good at remembering these things. But a beautiful smallmouth on the Ned rig, and I kept grinding. I kept catching multiple 15 largemouth and stuff, and I'm like, I know I need one fish. I'm going to need this fish. I'm going to need, and my wife, she told me, hey, you're in second place. I'm like, thanks for giving me the heads up. But I kept grinding, and I kept throwing that Ned rig out there. I'm like, and then bang, I caught a 20-something inch largemouth. And when I got that fish up and got it in the net, I had an hour left, and I knew, I was like, game over. I said, somebody beats me, congratulations. But I felt I had it with that fish. And I put her on the board, measured her, and I had an hour left, and I said, I'm done fighting. I think I got it. And I paddled out. And if I don't, God bless the one who did. And I end up getting it. But, yeah, the Ned rig, I mean, I'm not a particular fan of trying to throw it a lot. But, and that's the thing. If the conditions call for it or the situation, I'll throw it. 6-pound test line. I mean, it's scary, but you can catch big fish on it. And big fish, you can catch them on 6-pound test. You just got to be smart. And so forth. So don't try to break the bank. Don't try to be somebody else. Be yourself. Fish the way you fish, and then pick up a new technique every once in a while. And like I said, the problem I had was I was trying to figure out how to throw everything getting around 2018, I had a lot of confidence in myself, and I said, well, I could throw this bait and I could throw that bait, and I was buying tackle like crazy, and then end up I couldn't catch fish on half of it because, and this is a little thing I think most of us know, but if you're new to this, hold on, are you there? Bait companies make baits to catch fishermen. A lot of them catch fish. Zoom's good at that. Zoom has a billion colors and they're awesome, but really you only need, it's like Gerald Swindle said, you only need like 3 colors. Right. So, just keep it simple and you'll progress a lot more, faster, better. Sorry.
No problem. Well, Alan, we appreciate your time. I definitely want to congratulate you again on your Angler of the Year with Real Crazy. It's definitely exciting, and I mean, heck, to win a Hobie is pretty nice too. So, great.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible. It was. I mean, well, and not to keep this. But I've been wanting myself personally, I want a pedal kayak. But I was like, I didn't know which one to pull the trigger on. Don't know which one to pull the trigger on. And I said, you know what? Maybe I'll just win one day. And then, so I just kept holding on. And all of a sudden they announced that was going to be the one given away in our group. And I was like, maybe I got this. And I didn't win. I didn't win one of our tournaments. I just placed well enough in the points every tournament by grinding to win. So, when you figure out that you ain't got to win every tournament, you just got to grind and compete and be, in the top. Right. You never know where you're going to end up. But, yeah, it's a blessing. I'd like to thank the Dugout and Jamie Koza. I mean, I really appreciate them going out the way they did, donating it to our group. And it's a phenomenal prize, and I'm blessed to have it for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, now you guys are, super. Yeah, it's great to see the relationship growing with you and the Dugout, and it's really nice to see Jamie kind of coming on the scene and being very supportive of Georgia kayak fishing. He's become the title sponsor for Bass Nation, and we're happy to have him. Looking forward to building that relationship with him too. So, things are looking good, and I'm glad that he's around. But again, we want to say congratulations. We'd love to have you back on. This is the kind of stuff we love talking about, just getting that out there to new anglers, and even some veteran anglers. I think some of the stuff and topics we talked about today are great for anybody. I know I learned some things today. So, again, appreciate you coming on the show and taking the time. And I can't say it enough. Congratulations once again. You will be fishing the Georgia Bass Nation on Lake Sinclair.
Yeah, I'll be fishing it, and I'm fishing our club state as well. So I got 2 weekends in a row where I got to be leaving a football game on Friday night, driving a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours, get a couple hours sleep and get ready to fish. So, but I'm here to support my Haralson County Rebels. We're undefeated so far, going to Model tomorrow night, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So
good deal. Well, again,
thanks for having me. I appreciate it, guys. I really enjoyed it.
Anytime, we'll definitely have you back for sure.
Yeah, glad to have you. Appreciate you being with us.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that interview. I know Freddie and I really had a good time talking with Alan. Always a joy to talk with him. And Alan, appreciate you being here with us. It means a lot that you would take some time away from your schedule and your family to be with us, and so we really appreciate it. We have, with the holidays coming up, we're going to make a couple of changes. Our next show, as you know, we do a show every other Thursday. Well, 2 weeks from now will be Thanksgiving, and so we're not going to do a show for Thanksgiving. So our next show is scheduled for December the 10th. So make note of that, so you will be sure you're not missing an episode of the Hook and Reel Kayak Fishing Show. So our next one is December the 10th. So just keep an eye on the Hook and Reel Kayak Fishing Show Facebook page, and it'll let you know what's coming up. And spread the word, guys. Share the link. Help us to get the word out about Hook and Reel, and give us some feedback of what you'd like to see, and help us out to try to we want to build a good following. We want to be to develop this to where this is the go-to place for finding out about what all is going on in the state of Georgia. So we'd like your help and the feedback on that. So Freddie, you got anything else you want to add? Or
No. Again, guys, if you guys can help us spread the word on the Hook and Reel Kayak Fishing Show, we'd appreciate it. And if there's anything that you guys would like to hear or see or talk about on the show, please reach out to us, and we'd love to have you on the show, or implement some of your ideas for sure. Again, this is kind of something we're hoping to to help everyone in the state of Georgia that's passionate about kayak fishing, and Georgia kayak fishing especially. But that doesn't mean that we don't talk about things outside of Georgia. But our main focus definitely is our small community here. David and I are constantly keeping tabs on what's going on with the kayak community of Georgia, and it's exciting. We've got some great anglers here and some great stories, and we want to be a platform to help tell those stories and get your story out to everyone involved in our small little community here in Georgia. So again, if you have an opportunity, reach out to us. Let us know what you want to hear, see, or talk about, and we'll make sure we'll do our best to get it on the show.
All right, well, guys, happy Thanksgiving to you, because we won't see you till December.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
Take care.